circle bright, weave your web of dark and light, earth, air, fire.
Welcome back to Witches of the Moon. This is now take 3 of this video. I had this video recorded in its entirety. It was 28 minutes long, and when I went to edit the video, there was no sound. Thank you, Mercury retrograde. So then I started trying to record it again, and my phone has not stopped ringing all day long. So I'm going to try this one more time. So here we go. Welcome back to Witches of the Moon. I'm your Monday hostess, Natalie. This is season 13, week 16 or 17? 17. Yeah. And we are doing witches and health and wellness. Your body is a temple, or is it? So I'm going to try to remember exactly everything that I covered in my original recording of this video. And I will start out by saying that I absolutely believe that your health and wellness has a direct impact on the efficacy of your craft. What I'm going to talk about are some things that I do to try to improve my health and wellness, because you can look at me and see I am fat. I am grossly obese by my BMI, and I've known that for several years. Just to give you some background on what's going on with me personally and how it affects my craft. I do believe that the body is a system. The body is a group of systems that operate together as one system. When something is out in a system, then everything is out. Nothing works exactly as it should. So I do believe that when your mental and physical health are not in line, and it will have a direct impact on the efficacy of your craft. We've done videos in the past where we've talked about witchy slumps, where you kind of get into a slump and you can't really get yourself into your craft or whatever. This is much bigger than that. This leads to that, but this is much bigger than that. When I was in my late 20s, I had my third child, my last child, and I was put on the Depo-Provera shot. Now, I had concerns about that because my mother is a little on the hefty side. I did not know at the time that my mother has been a lifelong diabetic. I knew that she was diabetic, but I thought it was something that came on later. And I can tell you, my mom hasn't always had the best eating habits, but who does, right? I find that I tend to do a lot of the same things. She would have guacamole at 3 o'clock in the morning while watching Taxi. So I thought that that was a contributing factor. But I was concerned about putting on a lot of weight because I had heard with the Depo shot, you put on a lot of weight, and I didn't want to end up having a lot of the same health issues that my mom was having. And they said, oh no, if you can get through 3 kids unscathed, then you're going to have no problem with the Depo shot. And so I was on the Depo-Provera shot for 5 years, and I didn't have a problem. But the year that I turned 32, I had put on 20 pounds each time I went in for the shot. You get the shot 4 times a year. So by the end of that year, I had put on 60 pounds, and the doctor was like, we've got to get you. I had changed doctors. I went to a different doctor, and the doctor on campus was like, you have got to get off the shot. We've got to take you off the shot. Well, I'd been doing a lot of research and reading about birth control and its negative effects on the female body and how it really does lead to an increase in depression, stroke, particularly if you smoke, which I don't, but clotting, cancer, both ovarian and breast. So I decided I didn't want to do that to myself anymore. Somebody else's pleasure was not worth my risking my health. So I quit taking any form of birth control at that point in time. I was not going to put anything synthetic. And I really started to put kind of a shift towards looking at natural remedies for health, because I had also noticed around this time that my husband and I were both taking a lot of, every day it was aspirin and decongestant, aspirin, decongestant, aspirin, decongestant. And I thought to myself, your body builds up an immunity to this stuff over time, so there's no way this stuff can really still be working. And I started looking more into natural methods, and that's when I started looking into herbalism. Now, I fully believe that your mental health is as important as your physical health. And if you are not on par with yourself, you're not gonna care too much what's going on. So of course that's going to affect your craft. When I started meditating, I started to see a shift in myself. I used to be a very angry person. I was mad at everyone. It was my motivation in life. Everything I did was motivated through a sense of anger. And when someone kindly pointed this out to me, I started to try to look into things to help that. And one of the things that I started to do was meditate. And I found that meditation actually really helped me in a lot of different ways. But it's hard to get into new habits, right? It's hard to change our habits. So adding exercise, doing all of that. And I have to add something I mentioned in my prior video. I was going to the Anytime Fitness. They opened an Anytime Fitness just down the road from my house. And around this same time, I had gone back to graduate school to earn a PhD. And I was totally stressing, right? Stress will definitely add weight. It increases your cortisol level. It lowers your melatonin, so it throws your sleep cycles off. And you store more fat, because when you're stressed, you store fat. That's what cortisol does. So it throws off your cortisol melatonin cycles and you put on weight. So I was going to the gym trying to work off this weight, and I went every single day minus Sundays. So I was going 5 to 6 times a week for a minimum of 45 minutes to sometimes a couple of hours. I was doing a mix of weightlifting and cardio, trying to tone as well as lose weight. And in 2 years, I lost 5 pounds. And that's including using their free calorie tracker to track all of my calories in my eating, tracking all of my exercise, and making sure I was doing it all. Yeah. So at that point, I just said, screw it. I'm going to be fat and happy. The fact of the matter is I'm not happy. I'm not happy being fat, and I really don't, I'm concerned very heavily because I see all of the issues that my mother has with her health, and I don't want to end up in that same place as I get older. She really struggles, and she's been in the hospital a few times, and it scared the Puwan out of me. Not just for me, but of course for my mother. So I'm thinking, I don't want to put my kids through that kind of stress when I'm older, having to worry about that. So I really, really, really wanted to put a focus on getting healthy. And so a couple of days ago, about a couple of weeks ago now, one of the things that I have to talk about in this is something that my husband pointed out, because I know that you fast forward to 2020 and we have COVID and everybody's stuck inside. You can't go to the gym. You can't really get outside too much. You're supposed to wear a mask. It's very hard to exercise with a mask on. And many of you know I have a private practice, speech pathology practice here, and it's very hard to do speech pathology with a mask on too, because they need to be able to see your face. Well, one of the habits that gets associated with speech pathology is something called grazing. And it's exactly what it sounds like. Grazing like a cow. Because I can tell you right now, especially speech pathologists that work with children, we use food as a motivator. Food is highly motivating. We use Cheerios. I will tell you that Skittles is the crack cocaine of childhood. Kids will do just about anything for a single Skittle. I would buy those little tiny packages you give out at Halloween, and 1 Skittle for each time that they, got a right answer or participated in an activity. And I would wean them down to where pretty soon they were working with the idea that they would get the entire packet of Skittles at the end, provided they stayed on task. It's remarkably effective. The problem is when you've got a lot of snacks and stuff around you all the time, what do? You eat. You subconsciously eat. It's called grazing. And my husband's like, you're grazing. All you're doing is eating all day. You're at home and all you're doing is stuffing your mouth, And I was like, he might be right. I was like, I'm not doing that at first. But then the more I thought about it, I thought, you know what, he's right. I am feeling constantly hungry. And I think some of that has to do with this, just being stuck. So consequently, I've just been feeling not very good about myself, and I haven't been very active in my craft. Okay? So what do you do to combat that? Again, developing new habits is very difficult. So one of the things that I do is I meditate daily. Thank you, Timothy Roderick, for turning me on to the Insight Timer. It has been remarkable in keeping me accountable for the amount of time that I spend in meditation and how many days I do it. When you log into the Insight Timer, it will tell you how many days you have meditated. So if you go here, you'll see, oops, it's up here at the top, how many days total you've meditated and how many days consecutively. And in this case, it's been 1,036 consecutive days of meditation and 1,283 total days of meditation. Now, this has been over the course of a few years, so don't freak out, people. But it has helped me to make meditation a daily practice. By being accountable, it has helped me to shift that. And we all know, being in the craft, that meditation is one of the ways in which we ground ourselves and release stress and tension, but also connecting to the astral as well as developing our psychic abilities. So it really has helped me. So I thought, well, gee, when I wanted to learn more about my spending habits, what did I do? I wrote down every single dime that I spent, and it has helped me to track where my money's going, because you mindlessly spend. We do things automatic. We are creatures of habit. So I got myself a notebook and I started tracking how much water am I drinking, because that's another bad habit that I have. I do not drink enough water. And part of my studies for the OBOD was to intake a certain amount of water a day in order to connect with the element of water. So I started tracking. What am I eating for breakfast? What am I eating for lunch? What am I eating for dinner? I often don't eat breakfast. I have noticed that when I eat breakfast in the morning, by noon I am ravenous and I eat all day long. If I don't eat breakfast, then I'm fine eating just dinner and lunch. But lately I've just been hungry all the time, constant eating. So I've really been making a focus on trying to intake more water, especially if I'm feeling hungry, but I'm not really hungry, or I don't feel I need to eat because it's not time, and tracking what I'm putting in my mouth. And I realize he's right, and here's the thing, for the first week or so, I was doing great. And then it sort of petered out. Now, another thing that I started adding was how much exercise am I doing? What am I doing to exercise? Because again, you want to take small steps. You start out with one thing, and then you add something to it, and then you add something until you have restructured your time. One of the things that we tend to say is, oh, I just don't have time for all of that. If you have time, there is time for what is important to you, okay? It's a matter of time management. And for my inspiration to that, I looked at people like Benabel Wen. The woman is an attorney. She writes books. She does tarot. She writes classes. I'm like, how in the world do you find time to do all this stuff? She's amazing. She's even said it's all about the time management and all about accountability. I'm going to add accountability to that. When you can start adding in one or two things, you find, you know what, I can do a couple more of those today. I can, drink another glass of water today. And you start to find time for the things that are important to you. But having it written down really forces you to look at the patterns that you have in your behavior and how that can affect your health. As I've started doing that, I've started getting more and more into my craft, because I now find that I have a better mental attitude. When your body and your mental attitude are in line, you're going to do better. Now, another way that you can incorporate healthy habits into your craft is to do more things like watching what you eat, incorporating more herbs, doing more kitchen magic, witchy magic, green magic, herbal magic, whatever you want to call it. Root magic, whatever. You're incorporating these herbs and things into your diet, making sure that you're infusing that, and that you're also giving it the intended purpose of healing the body, bringing your health into line, bringing your weight into line if that's your goal. So one of the things that I stumbled upon recently, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Laura Tempest Sakharov. She has started a wonderful new playlist on her channel here on YouTube on Witchual Workout. And she takes her inspiration from different aspects of the craft and comes up with activities that get you moving. It's not overly strenuous, but she works up to it. And I will put a link to her, at least her first video in that playlist. If I can't figure out how to link the whole playlist, I'll put just the first video in the description bar. That way you can go and click on that and check that out. Because it was a really neat way to draw in all of that and to bring the craft into your exercise routine so that your workouts become something that is practice-based as well. So some things that I would just want to say, this video is going to be considerably shorter, and that's okay. I want to get to the point. Yes, your health affects your craft. Yes, your mental health affects your physical health, which affects your craft. If your intention or your focus and your attention are not on what you're doing, then it's going to be half, right? It's not going to be fully present. We need to be fully present. So having mindfulness practices, meditation, and good health practices, it's going to make your craft stronger. You're going to be far more connected to the divine because you're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to be more in tune with what's going on around you than if you're just depressed and you're like, I don't give a about anything. I have been going through a lot of that. And I think a lot of us have been because we're feeling isolated. We're feeling separated. We're feeling depressed. We can't go do the things we like to do. We're having to wear these masks. It's making you break out. All kinds of things. This has been really devastating, I think, on the psyche of humanity as a whole. So we want to start taking more positive steps to counteract that. And in doing such, by really focusing on our health, we can also counteract the virus. So that's going to all work together. Everything is a system. We've got to work it the right way to make our craft as strong as we can, to hopefully stamp out this horrible pandemic, which would, I think, increase the health of everybody. So we need to really find ways to work in health and wellness to our practice, because I absolutely, truly do believe that it totally affects your practice as a witch. You cannot be truly focused if you're not really focused on taking care of yourself. If something's out of line, everything's out of line, right? It's all a system. So working that into your daily routine, making yourself accountable. And you know what? I missed some days. But you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to start right back up on the next page. And I leave that so that it keeps me accountable. I'm like, wow, I really got away from that, didn't I? Today I'm going right on back to it. I'm going to be logging everything that goes in my mouth. I'm going to be logging how much exercise I do. What am I doing with my time? What am I doing with my, am I grazing? Am I doing things that I don't really, need to be? Am I eating things I don't really need to eat? What am I eating when I do eat? Is it something that's healthy? And I'm putting my focus back on that so that my craft can be just as strong. As you may know, I've recently earned a Master Herbalist certification. I am a member of the American Herbalist Guild, and I am working on becoming a registered herbalist. I'm looking at taking a Master's of Science in Herbal Medicine course degree out of a university out of Oregon, and there's also a doctoral program here based out of Fort Worth. One of the private colleges here has a doctoral program in herbal medicine that I plan to pursue as well. So taking these things and taking these steps and keeping myself accountable. What am I doing to accomplish those goals? I do this with my goal writing too. It's all one and the same. It's all a system. It's part of it. Your goals that you set for yourself, how you achieve those goals, the steps you take, what you do to accomplish these things. What are you eating? What are you putting in your mouth? I have a million of these journals. I keep one for my spending. I keep one because I tend to spend. I have a shopping addiction, especially for books. I will just order. Amazon has been the worst thing for me, and yet I love it. But I buy my herbs, my candles, my da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I've had to learn to really curb that spending. Harold was taking care of all of the bills, and so I was just spending because he's taking care of it. It wasn't even a thought in my mind. Now I've taken control of that, and I've said, I'm going to be taking care of my credit cards. I will pay my credit cards because I need to be in control of my spending. I need to be mindful of what I'm spending. And so it all goes together, and I feel much better about myself as a person, much better about myself as a witch, because I am really learning to control those habits and incorporate healthy habits in both spending and in everything else. So taking up more of the natural, letting go of more of the synthetic, getting away from big pharma, paying attention to what's going into my body and into my mouth, not just in terms of food, but in terms of drink, exercise, and so forth, I can therefore feel more in control of my craft as well. And I think a healthy body leads to a healthier practice in the craft. So absolutely they are related, and it's something I want to encourage everyone to look at more closely in your own life. I hope that these things that I'm doing have helped you in some way. I'll put Laura's link down in the down bar. I encourage you to check out her channel and check out her Witchual Workouts. They've been really neat to do, and I hope that you will take steps to improving your health and making yourself the healthiest, most powerful witch that you can be. Blessed be.